How to write a perfect GCSE Geography answer. Today we're going to look at a weather hazards question. The weather of the UK is becoming more extreme. Use evidence to support the statement, 6 marks. Let's break this question down. Keywords in here are weather, so we need to refer to a specific event, and the other word that's very important is extreme. So we need to refer to extreme weather events within the UK. We also need to provide evidence of where this is happening. Before you start answering the question, especially when you're revising, it's good to break down the key elements, make some notes before you start structuring your answer. This will give you a better framework and you'll be able to write better paragraphs which are targeted to the question. Here's a table. On the left hand side, you can pop in different examples of weather hazards, whether it's rainfall or flooding or any other extreme weather event within the UK. Refer to a specific example next to it and then very briefly in one line say how they're becoming more extreme. Sample answer number 1. In the UK, weather events are becoming significantly more extreme. Scientists have noticed that these events seem to be occurring more frequently than in the past. In this first few lines, the candidate has not referred to any specific weather events in the UK. They've made an accurate statement about the scientists noticing the occurrence of these events happening more frequently, but they've not given any specific evidence for it. If you're going to write an introduction, be straight to the point. In the first line, mention 1 or 2 specific events and perhaps even some data to go with it. Sample answer number 2. Recent extreme weather events have also occurred elsewhere in the world. There have been devastating floods in Pakistan 2010, heat waves in Russia 2010, and severe droughts in western United States 2014. The first line immediately starts talking about weather events that have happened elsewhere in the world. The question, however, is asking for specific weather events happening within the United Kingdom. Whilst the information regarding the floods in Pakistan, Russia and the United States has some relevance, it's not helping to answer the question because it is specifically asking for evidence within the United Kingdom. No single extreme weather event can be blamed on climate change. However, scientists believe that a trend over many years could be linked to a warming world. More energy in the atmosphere could lead to more intense storms. The atmospheric circulation may be affected, bringing floods to normally dry regions and heat waves to normally cooler areas. In this second paragraph, the candidate has talked about, again, valid information. However, the candidate has not talked about specific extreme weather events within the United Kingdom. If you're going to write like this in the exam, it's unlikely that the examiner will be able to give you the marks that you need to be able to get. Sample answer number 3. Since the year 2000, climate change has most likely caused weather to be more extreme in the United Kingdom. This is due to a changed jet stream, meaning that the weather we experience sticks and doesn't change for a period of time. For example, in Kent, August 2003, a sustained heat wave reached 38.5 degrees and killed over 2,000 people. Furthermore, Boscastle flood in 2004 did not result in deaths, but did cause serious damage and left people homeless. This shows that the UK weather is getting progressively more extreme. In the first line, the candidate has talked about a temporal evidence of how weather and climate may be changing in the United Kingdom. A valid point to make. Then states that a changing jet stream may be causing further issues, which is also potentially a valid point. A good example is given in the third line, fourth line, talking about Kent, August 2003, gives a temperature and gives evidence for how many people were affected by it. This is a really good example to put in here. The Boscastle flood example is good, however, it doesn't talk about the amount of rainfall that fell within 24 hours, which is a very important missing point for a weather and climate question. Overall, the candidate is talking about since the year 2000, climate change has caused weather to become more extreme, but only gives 2 examples which were in the early 2000s. So if you're going to state that it's gradually changing over time, then you must refer to more recent events in your example too. However, this is a better attempt at the question with specific examples which are really good to put in. Sample answer number 4. Since 2014, the weather in the UK has gotten more extreme. For example, in 2015-16, the UK had experienced severe storms and floods to many areas in the north of England, in places such as Yorkshire and Cumbria were badly affected. December 2015 ended up being the wettest and warmest month ever recorded in the UK. In this paragraph, the candidate has made a good start talking about a specific time period and then goes on to refer to severe storms and floods occurring in specific areas within Yorkshire and Cumbria. Finishes the paragraph with referring to the wettest and warmest month ever being recorded. However, to make this paragraph perfect, the candidate could have talked about specific temperature data, specific rainfall data, and perhaps given examples of where those storms or floods may have occurred within England itself. In Northern Ireland on the 17th to the 23rd of July, 31.3 degrees centigrade was recorded at Castledurg, County Tyrone, setting a new all-time temperature record for Northern Ireland for any month. These events show that the weather in the UK has been becoming ever worse by the year due to climate change. This second paragraph is much better because it refers to specific places, specific dates, and specific reason and evidence for why the weather is becoming more extreme. If the first paragraph had been written in a similar context, then certainly this would be a top band answer. Sample answer number 5. In addition, the area of the Somerset levels was highly damaged in 2014 with 350mm of rainfall in January, the highest since records began in 1910. Its impacts were also greatly damaging, with 600 houses needing to be evacuated. Daily lives were halted, for instance schools and work. 16 farms were submerged and evacuated, having huge economic implications because of a lack of income and trade. The economic problems were also major, with the cost of the total damage reaching £10 million. Overall, the features and consequent impacts of the UK's weather is largely becoming far more extreme and thus having huge implications for the whole of the UK socially, economically and environmentally. This paragraph starts off well with contextualization of a particular case study, a particular time frame and the amount of rainfall. But even better is the fact that it identifies that this event was the worst that has ever been since records began. And then it provides evidence to support their original statement by qualifying it by referring to how many people had to be evacuated, the lack of income coming in and trade, and the total cost to the people that are living there. The conclusion also does well here because it consolidates the previous point in the previous paragraph, but also the one preceding it as well. A low-level answer will have largely generic ideas. For example, the weather is becoming more extreme, but doesn't actually refer to a specific example. Or the candidate might say there are more storms and floods, but again doesn't contextualize it with a specific example. A mid-level answer, 3 to 4 marks, will be clearer of understanding of how UK weather is becoming more extreme. They may suggest some examples, so in this case, the Boscastle floods resulted in X amount of rainfall and caused, and they may refer to a simplistic description of the damage they may have caused. A top-level answer will give detailed explanation of how the UK weather is becoming more extreme in context of a particular example. In this case, severe flooding occurred across southern England, causing the River Thames to burst its banks, which resulted in large areas of Somerset to become inundated. 2013-14 was England's wettest winter in 250 years. It's not necessary for a 6-mark question to have a defined conclusion, but if you want to put one in, you're best off putting in a singular line such as this one. Overall, I think the weather of the UK is or is not becoming more extreme, as evidenced by, and then give your example. Therefore, this means, and then give the contextualization for it. Whatever you do for this question, at the end, if you do want to put in a conclusion, make sure that you refer to things to a small extent or to a large extent. Don't just completely agree or disagree with a statement. Make sure that you give some examples as often as possible. It's really important that you're not just listening to this video, skipping forwards and backwards. It's important that you write the question down and you attempt doing it yourself. Make sure that you explain the answer in logical steps, apply your own knowledge and understanding. Make sure you use the template that I showed you earlier. Use your textbook to help to get the information and then write that information out clearly. The more you practice writing, the better you're going to get at getting higher marks. Don't just read your textbook, make sure that you're focusing on improving your writing skills. Practice writing. Annotate the question before you start answering the question itself, particularly if you've got a mock exam or you've got an assessment that's coming up or you're doing the actual exam itself. In preparation, you can read newspaper articles. You can try to copy what the article says and try to put it in your own words using the same structure. You could write in third person. you could write as if the person that is reading your answer gets the sense that they really know that you know what you're talking about, and write clearly and neatly. We're still writing by hand in the exams. For most of us, we will not be able to type in the exam, so learn to write clearly and neatly so that when the examiner reads your writing, they can read it and understand what you said. Now go back, review your notes, your textbook on this topic. If you have an old assessment, rewrite some questions from it using what you've learned from the video today. Go back and watch the relevant parts of the video and outline how you can improve your own written answers further. The key thing is you've got to keep on practicing writing your answers. Even if you've got your textbook open, make sure you keep practicing every single week, and over time you will definitely get better and get higher marks.